Guess what time it is? It is time for another game of Shelve It or Shove It, the completely superficial way to pick books for your TBR based solely on their cover. And I will be going on to Goodreads to look at their new releases for the month of May to read in June in the categories of young adult, science fiction, and fantasy. So let's get started. First up is young adult, and the very first novel is I Kissed Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston. As you know, or may not know, but I'll tell you, Casey McQuiston wrote Red, White, and Royal Blue, which I'll reviewed. I'll have a link up here. I wasn't a huge fan of that book. I think there were issues with it, but so many people loved it, and they will probably love this one. This looks like a lesbian romance. The cover itself is interesting. It's an illustration of a blonde woman holding a book. So there's a bit of inception going on there because the book is titled I Kissed Shara Wheeler. So not sure what that's about. There's a little tagline that says, to get the girl, first you have to find her. So, maybe it's a mystery. But like I said, I wasn't a big fan of her first book. I'm not really into romances, so I'm going to have to shove it. Next up is Family of Liars by E. Lockhart. And it says it is a prequel to their novel or series, We Were Liars. And I have not read that one. I'm not a huge fan of prequels. The cover is okay. It's a sunset, there's a bright sun, and there's some people. It's all a little bit fuzzy, but it's a prequel of something I've never read before, so I'm going to shove it. Next up is The Lesbian's Guide to Catholic School by Sonora Reyes. And the cover, I actually like this cover. I like the illustration. This looks like a Latina young protagonist. And there's these roses around here. I don't know if you've ever been to Mexico and seen the Guadalupe Festival. That's what it kind of is reminding me of. But I don't know. I'm not really into the subject. Not that I have anything against lesbians, but Catholic school, I'm guessing this is maybe coming of age. Not really into that plot. So I am going to shove it. Next up is Together We Burn by Isabel Ibanez. And I like this cover. These flames will ignite her is the tagline, but it's this bouquet of flowers and they are burning. And it's very colorful. I like these fans that look kind of Asian. One's black, one's white. I say Asian because of the dragon motif on them. It's pretty. This is a pretty cover. I'm going to assume this is fantasy and probably with a, since it's young adult, a romance subplot. So I still like the cover. So I'm going to shelve it. Next up is A Show for Two by Tashi Buyan. I'm probably mispronouncing that. And it's an illustrated cover. It looks like a young couple, one with darker skin, one very blonde guy, eating Chinese food. Looks like a romance, possibly interracial romance or different cultures. If you're into that sort of thing, this might be the book for you, but it's not for me. So I'm going to have to shove it. Now we move on to science fiction. And first up is City of Orange by David Yoon. And the cover is orange. It looks like sand dunes or something. It's telling me nothing about the subject of this, especially because the title says city, and this is certainly not a city. So I'm going to have to shove it. Next up is Dan, oh, this is the author's name. Dan Cheon, Sleepwalk, a novel. There's a recommendation by Gillian Flynn at the top. I don't even know that person. The cover is kind of psychedelic 60s with these wavy lines and variation in color from orange to blue. I don't know what this is about. This is another cover that is okay, but doesn't tell me anything other than the title is Sleepwalk, so I'm going to have to shove it. Next up is Walk the Vanished Earth by Aaron Swan. There is a big picture of the moon, sort of this blue wash effect to it, and it looks like a city with a gazelle, deer, that's sort of in this fuzzy orange. I'm guessing post-apocalyptic. And the cover it's not a bad cover. If I was in the mood for sort of a post-apocalyptic type book, I'd probably pick this up. Because I do like that contrast between that bluish, greenish wash, and then that in the foreground, that burnt umber orange color of the animal, whatever that is. So, I think I'm going to shelve it. Next up is Child Zero by Chris Holm. And, oh, come on. I don't know anything about this book. It's just the title, Child Zero. The O in zero has a cross through it. There's these little X's every so often, so maybe that's like computer code. No. I'm going to have to shove it. Well, that was it for science fiction, so let's move on to fantasy. First up is Book of Night by Holly Black. I know a lot of people love Holly Black, and this book will probably do very well. I'm not a huge fan of Holly Black, and the cover, it's okay. It's the title at the top, her name at the bottom, the author's name at the bottom, and then it looks like something's ripped through the book cover if it was this dark navy blue cover with, it looks like there's some type of relief going on, and there's a stylized sun and moon. I don't know. Doesn't really say much about what it's about, so I'm going to have to shove it. Next up is Siren Queen by Ingvo. I recognize this cover from the new releases to watch out for, and I do like this cover because it is an Asian woman. It's photorealistic, which I'm not usually fond of, but it's in this sort of film noir design. And I kind of remember what the book was about, so this is cheating a little bit. But I'm going to shelve it. Next up is The Change by Kirsten Miller. And there are these plants. There's a sort of purpley blue background. And the plants, I'm getting Dan the Terrific. Is anyone else a John Wyndham fan? And there's a little medal on the cover, so it's won some sort of award, I assume. I would like to know if this is contemporary fantasy or not. There's a little tagline, it's not over its time. Maybe an environmental type novel. Too many questions. I'm going to have to shove it. Next up is Shannon McGuire's Seasonal Fears. And it is, of course, a New York Times best-selling author. I kind of like this cover. I mean, it's very simple. It's just a leaf, but the way they've cut it and put a line or two in each leaf segment looks really cool. And the colors going from the bright green to the sort of, with the flame on the top, autumnal orange color. I think it's pretty. And I do like Shannon Maguire. I think I'm going to have to shelve it. Next up is Electra by Jennifer Saint, author of Ariadne. And Electra, is she the mother that slept with her son? Or it's like the reverse of the Oedipal complex. Anyway, that's hopefully not what it's about. It's bright orange and red, and there are 3 women in profile. Very Greek theme. The cover's okay. I don't mind the cover. But I would rather read Ariadne by this author because I've heard so much about that before jumping into this next book. And what if it's a sequel? That would... Anyway, even though the cover's okay, and I'm not really into a Greek fantasy mood, I think I'm going to have to shove it. That was a final entry in fantasy, so let's go ahead and recap the books we've shelved. Now, I am probably just going to pick one book, but we have one young adult, we have one science fiction, and we have 2 fantasy. Together We Burn by Isabella Ibanez is our young adult. Science fiction is Walk the Vanished Earth by Aaron Swan. And then we have Siren Queen by Ying Vo and Seasonal Fears by Shannon Maguire. I think I am going to pick a fantasy. I'm just in a fantastical mood. I'm in the mood for fantasy. So it's between Siren Queen and Seasonal Fears. And this is tough because Shannon Maguire is sort of a known quantity. I know I usually like this person's writing, even if this person writes under a pen name. And I don't believe I've read any Ying Vo, but Siren Queen, kind of know what it's about, and I'm really curious about it. So what the heck? I'm going to pick Siren Queen. Now let's go ahead and read the blurb in Goodreads. No maids, no funny talking, no fainting flowers. Luli Wee is beautiful, talented, and desperate to be a star. Coming of age in pre-code Hollywood, she knows how dangerous the movie business is and how limited the roles are for a Chinese-American girl from Hungarian Hill. But she doesn't care. She'd rather play a monster than a maid. But in Luli's world, the worst monsters in Hollywood are not the ones on screen. The studios want to own everything from her face to her name to the women she loves. Ooh, lesbian. And they run on a system of bargains made in blood and ancient magic. Powered by the endless sacrifice of unlucky starlets like her, for those who do survive to earn fame, success comes a steep price. Luli is willing to do whatever it takes, even if that means becoming the monster herself. Siren Queen offers up an enthralling exploration of an outsider achieving stardom on her own terms. In a fantastical Hollywood where the monsters are real and the magic of the silver screen illuminates every page. Well, this sounds fantastic. We have a fantasy set in the 50s, pre-code Hollywood, going through the racial stereotypes that Asians and other minorities had to face. This one is from the Asian perspective. It sounds very queer, and it sounds like there is magic involved. So I am excited. Siren Queen by Ying vote. I'd like to know what you think. Were there books that you saw that you may have shelved, or were there books that I shelved that you wouldn't have? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If you want a recommendation of another Asian fantasy series, you can find one right here. Until we meet again, may all the books you read be blessed.